We've got about 5 minutes till 7. So thank you so much, Sally, for talking to us
You're
tonight.
welcome.
Really appreciate it,
Thanks
and for
for listening,
being.
everybody.
They didn't jump off. They've been listening the whole time,
Okay.
so
Okay, thank
they
you.
find you interesting like I do. And
Thanks a lot.
and uh, and was it terrible?
It was not terrible. I enjoyed talking with you very much. And
Oh, good.
I know my audience.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
That's
So
my peeps.
so
Yeah.
others can volunteer, or you may just get a call from me. So volunteer. And
Well, I figure it's really the least we can do, Tony, when you're showing up for us every night with something new and um, guiding us through this uncharted territory. I really appreciate that. It's been a good kind of touchstone for me to come at 7 o'clock and get anchored again.
thanks. It's helped me a lot too, so it goes both ways. So
Okay.
thank you, Sally.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
See you in a few minutes.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye bye. So I'm going to take a break, and then at 7, I'll start the evening time together. So I'll be right back. Hi, everyone who is joined this evening. Susan, Lori from Tennessee. Hi, Lori. Elian, my mom who's in the room next to me. Beth Kissinger, Elizabeth Boyle, Linda Lee Waters. I see others on here, and there's quite a few. But anyway, to everybody who's watching, hi. And we're going to be reading from Psalm 6 tonight. So if you have a Bible close by or you want to look it up online, I'm going to be reading from the Common English Bible from Psalm 6. Couple of things that some people wanted me to announce. If you have prayer concerns, send those to me now, and that way when we get to our closing time of prayer, we can pray for those prayer concerns that you have. Susan Harder wanted me to mention to everybody that if you have N95 mask at home, maybe you've done work projects in the past, the hospital is taking those if you want to donate them. She said they've also accepted hand sanitizer, and they definitely want respirators. So if you have the plastic respirators that you've used for working around chemicals like in wood shops or heavy paint, the ones that use the disposable cartridges, they are taking those right now. And I have one N95 respirator. If you can get by with just using one, if you need to go out and use it for something, as long as you bring it home and leave it to air out for a day, even take some sanitizer on it and let it dry back out. Even though they're not supposed to reuse them in the hospital, the stuff I've read said that those of us who aren't working around people in a medical setting, it is possible to reuse them. So if you have quite a few of them, you don't need all those. But they do need to use new ones in the hospital. So if you have a pack of 5 or 10, I'd encourage you to keep one and maybe donate the others. Susan, if they go to the hospital, what do they? Because I guess my question, I should have asked you this beforehand. People may not want to go to the hospital right now. So how's another way that we could get those donated in case people don't want to go to the hospital or they're not sure where to go once they go there? So I'll wait for you to respond to me on that. Sorry, I should have asked you that first. I think that was the main announcement I wanted to make. So I'm going to read something that Melinda LaPlante sent to me tonight. I appreciate you sending that in. Oh, hold on. Susan said, just go to the main entrance of the hospital, and there's a table right by the front door. Okay, thank you, Susan. If they don't want to go to the hospital, is it okay for them to drop them at your house? Well, think about that and let me know. Oh, okay. So she said you can step in, drop them off, and leave. So you don't actually have to go in. Okay, so if you don't feel comfortable taking to the hospital and you do want to donate some, contact me and we'll figure out how we can make that happen. So Melinda LaPlante sent this evening. I wanted to share this with you. I thought it was good. And it says this: when this is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, full shelves at the store, conversations with neighbors, a crowded theater, Friday night out, the taste of communion, a routine checkup, the school rush each morning, coffee with a friend, the stadium roaring, each deep breath, a boring Tuesday, life itself. When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, we were called to be, we hope to be, and may we stay that way, better for each other because of the worst. That's written by Laura Kelly Finucci. So, Melinda, thanks for sharing that. If you come across something that you think would be good to send to me that I could share with everybody else, just email those to me or send them to me through Facebook. And I appreciate getting them so that I can share them with everybody else. I also I sent an email out today and asked for your help finishing my sermon. If you haven't responded, I've got lots of responses, which is awesome. But my question was, how have you seen God's presence in your life or in our world in the midst of this crisis? So I'd like to get your responses to that. Email me or text me, because I'd like to share those with everybody else tomorrow as we do the worship service. The worship service will be broadcast from the church, and John Miller and Jen Kinney, Ron Portine, and Ruth Cole will be assisting me tomorrow. And so again, that starts at 10 a.m. And you can share that and let others know that they can watch. And I know people, it would be nice to be in the church tomorrow, and probably be nice to see the church live tomorrow too. I know people are missing being able to be there. So hopefully this will end soon, and that will be something we can do very soon together. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you for this time together tonight. Thank you for this technology that we have to be able to come together and to think about your ancient words that have sustained so many people for thousands of years, and pray that you would open them up to us tonight so that they would feed us and give us your peace, your joy. Help us to recognize your presence in our lives. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen. Psalm 6.
Might be a place where patients from the regular...
Psalm 6. Please, Lord, don't punish me when you are angry. Don't discipline me when you are furious. Have mercy on me, God, because I'm frail. Heal me, God, because my bones are shaking in terror. My whole body is completely terrified. But you, God, how long will this last? Come back to me, God. Deliver me. Save me for the sake of your faithful love. No one is going to praise you when they are dead. Who gives you thanks from the grave? I'm worn out from groaning. Every night I drench my bed with tears. I soak my couch all the way through. My vision fails because of my grief. It's weak because of all of my distress. Get away from me, all you evildoers, because God has heard me crying. God has listened to my request. God accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be ashamed and completely terrified. They will be defeated and ashamed instantly. Same context as the previous Psalms. Someone who is in trouble, who's in danger, specifically from people who are out to destroy him or get him in some way, who are after him, and he's turned to God for help. It's called a Psalm of David It may have been written by David, but could also have been written in honor of David. So when the title says a Psalm of David, the Hebrew is not clear about that. It could be a psalm dedicated to David, or a psalm in David's name, or a psalm that I wrote when thinking about David, I being the person who wrote the psalm. But anyway, they're identifying with David's own situation in his life, or David himself is speaking to God in the midst of shaking terror, as he says in verse 2. In verse 3, in the midst of being completely terrified. And then we know why from verse 8, because there are evildoers who are after him. Evildoers is not a word that we use much anymore. But anyway, his enemies are out to get him for some reason. And he feels like he doesn't deserve that. So again, lots of connection for us today, especially in verse 3. How long will this last? David asked. How long will this last? And I think that's the question that everybody's asking right now. How long will this last, God? How long will our lives be turned upside down? How long will this virus continue to go around and destroy people's lives, and at the least turn the rest of our worlds upside down? How long will we be stuck at home? How long will we not be able to work? How long will it be until life gets back to normal? So it gives me some comfort to think that 3,500 years ago or 3,000 years ago, this person was asking that same question under different circumstances. How long will this last? He says in verse 6, I'm worn out from groaning. Every night I drench my bed with tears. I soak my couch all the way through. That's intense grief that this psalm writer was going through. So much so that he says in verse 7, my vision fails because of my grief. And I don't think he means physically that he's not able to see because of his grief, but he means, I think, his vision, his hope is failing because of the grief that he has. So he's losing the ability to see out of the situation that he's in. But in verse 9, he says, God has listened to my request. God accepts my prayer. And then, even though he doesn't know how it's going to turn out, he trusts in God and has faith in God. Verse 10, all my enemies will be ashamed and completely terrified. They will be defeated and ashamed instantly. He doesn't know that for sure, but that's the hope that he has. He's hoping and trusting that things will turn out for the best. And we don't know how this is going to turn out, but one thing we do know is that God is at work, working together to make all things work together for the good of those who love God, as we're told in Romans. God is behind the scenes. God is active, working in the midst of all of our situations, working to bring good out of crisis, to bring hope out of despair, to bring resurrection and life out of death. And so that's something that we can hold on to in the midst of the concerns that we have. I just am kind of in awe. I hadn't read this psalm before reading it to you tonight. I'm just in awe of this question that he asked in verse 3, how long will this last? So others have been there before. Others have been through different situations, but situations that have caused grief and pain and worry. And the question continues to be, how long will this last? I think it was Marge Luther who posted on Facebook last night that while we've been stuck in our home for 5 or 6 days, and we're still able to get out, to think about Anne Frank and those with her who were hiding in that little 400 square foot attic, hiding from the Nazis. And I think it was for like at least 400 and something days that they were stuck there. And she survived, and her faith carried her through, and she made it. And not to discount our own situation or to say that we shouldn't how shouldn't be able to experience sadness and grief in the midst of what we're going through. But when we think about what others have gone through in the past, and particularly Anne Frank's situation, I can't imagine being stuck in an attic for hundreds of days with your family, knowing that if you left, you'd be caught by the Nazis and sent to internment camps where you could very well die. And every day, I'm sure they asked that question: how long will this last? How long will this last? But they never gave up, kept hoping and trusting in God, and they can be examples for us during this time. So that's all I have for tonight. I'll quit talking now, and there's some prayer concerns that came in. I'm hoping I can remember all these. I think Donna Purnell sent me something. So hold on, Donna. I'm trying to find that again. Oh, I bet you sent me that on email. Anybody else have a prayer concern while I'm looking for the ones that came today? Here's Donna's. Donna asked for prayers for those who are on the front line working to keep us safe, for healthcare workers, for police, for firefighters, grocery store workers, and others that she might have forgotten. So we'll be sure to pray for those persons tonight. Any other prayer concerns? Mr. Ressick, Miriam's teacher, is with us tonight and says the story of Anne Frank is powerful. Yeah, it might be a good story to read right now. You're not familiar with her story. I think most people are, but I'm sure you can find that book or even read about her online. It might encourage you during this time. Last chance for prayer concerns. Oh, there's one more from Donna. Sorry. Keep her daughter-in-law, Dr. Michelle Purnell, in your prayers. She has a veterinary practice in Charlottesville, Virginia. She's working long hours because some of her coworkers cannot be at work. They're taking all the necessary precautions so they can meet animals in need at their car to get them checked during this time. And Danny and Andrew are at the lake house 2 hours away and won't be able to see Michelle until this is over. So she asked for prayers for them. So we will pray for Dr. Michelle Purnell and for those who are on the front lines working to keep us safe. I don't see any other prayer concerns, so let me just scroll back here one more time and make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you for this ancient psalm that comes to us. We've made our way to Psalm 6 tonight. Just amazed at how relevant each one of these psalms are for us at this time. And we know why they have survived for thousands of years, why people have preserved them and have made them available to us today, because in them we find hope and we find life, we find meaning, not just for our current situation, but for humanity throughout the millennia who have found power in your words, in these words that you inspired people to write down. And we give you thanks that they were faithful and that they wrote them down so that they can be shared with us today. Pray for Donna's family, Dr. Purnell, and for her family. Be with them. Let your presence surround them. Help them to see your presence in their lives. And for those who are on the front line working, doctors and nurses and all the other people who are doing everything they can right now and risking their own health, the grocery store workers, bank tellers, everyone who's trying to keep our lives, the necessities going. We thank you for them and pray for them as many of them are doing it, putting themselves at risk. And I pray, God, for our service tomorrow, for those who will be helping me to lead, John and Jen and Ron and Ruth, and for those who will be watching. Pray that it will be a time that we can be drawn closer to you. Thank you for those who've given me words to add to my own thoughts for the sermon tomorrow. Thank you for John and Jen who've been practicing music for tomorrow. And we'll give this time to you and give tomorrow morning to you as well for your glory and so that we might find life and hope. So we remember this prayer you taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. One more. Elian Thornton said, pray for her cousin that's having a baby in 10 days. She's not allowed any visitors while she has the baby. Pray that she has a healthy baby. So God be with Elian's cousin. And it's a difficult time to be having a baby. So be with her and bless her during this time. Good to be with you all tonight. I hope you join us from the church tomorrow. Not in person, but online. But we'll be at the church broadcasting at 10 a.m. for the worship service. And looking forward to using a lot of the words and thoughts that you all have sent me and others in the church have sent me as we talk tomorrow about where is God in the midst of all this. So have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. And tomorrow night at 7, actually at 6:30, we'll interview somebody else in the church. If you want to volunteer for that, that would save me having to call and find somebody to do it. And then tomorrow night at 7, we'll be on Psalm 7. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.